I love Halloween horror movies. Don't you? I mean, they're so good. The feeling of fall, you can almost smell the cold air, kids trick-or-treating, people being hacked up, blood splattering everywhere, mutilations galore. They're the best, right? But if there was one thing that I think I like better than a Halloween horror movie, you can bet your sweet behinds it would be Christmas horror movies. Terrifier 3. How in God's name did we get here? We now have 3 of these movies with a 4th on the way, and that's if you don't include All Hallows Eve. It's a heck of a time to be a horror fan. In the film, Art the Clown dresses up like Santa Claus and murders people to death. It's what you paid for, and it's what you're gonna get. In freaking droves. Give me the good stuff. No sense beating around the bush, let's talk about why we're here. Art the Clown, baby! David Howard Thornton is on fire in this flick. He's as funny, charming, and sadistic as ever. The scene where he meets Santa Claus had me rolling, and he makes every grotesque and horrific kill feel bearable with his wit and winks to the audience. I have said it before, and I'll say it again. Art the Clown is our Freddy Krueger. He is now, without question, a legitimate horror icon, and his creator friggin' knows it. Having such a visually distinct villain switch up his look and sport a Santa suit is arguably the most genius play I have ever seen in terms of a slasher sequel. It is a bold move, and it freaking pays off non-stop throughout the picture. And I can damn near guarantee that we are gonna see a shit ton of clowny clauses this Halloween. If you were gonna start at All Hallows Eve and then move through the Terrifier films in sequential order, you would see a significant increase in the quality of the acting performances. Now, I don't know if that's just the acting getting better, the writing getting better, the budget getting bigger, or D, all of the above, but it is legitimately impressive to see how much solid dramatics can improve your feature, even if it is just a sleazy slasher. Not unlike the performance aspect of the Terrifier films, the musical score has also seen a significant uptick throughout the progression of the series. Composer Paul Wiley came right out the gate in the first film with a pretty spectacular theme for our titular villain, but the second, and in particular the third film's musical cues are insanely impressive. I really like the world building going on in this threequel. One of my wife's major complaints for this flick was that she preferred it when the story was simpler, arguing that it was scarier when it was just Art being a creepy clown, and she also wasn't a big fan of how the demon-possessed Vicky talked so much. And while I definitely saw where she was coming from, I played devil's advocate and suggested that in order for the story to expand and go in the directions the creator wants to take it, there would have to be a fair amount of exposition. And I personally am here for that. Let's take this ride down all sorts of bigger and weirder avenues. It legit looks like we're going to hell in the next flick, and I could not be happier at the prospect of that scenario. The idea to set this film during Christmas time for a franchise that has been solely set on Halloween is freaking inspired. Terrifier 3 is bathed in holiday iconography that makes you yearn for those Christmases of your childhood, right up until Art breaks in, chops you up with an axe, desecrates the imagery of Jesus Christ, and quite literally takes a piss on Santa Claus. Savage as fudge. Speaking of fudge, I don't want to say this movie was overhyped. Like, how can you really overhype a slasher? Bitches be getting murdered. That's what's up. But the gore factor certainly was. Don't get me wrong, this flick was very excessive in the blood and violence department, to put it mildly. But I did not see anything in Terrifier 3 that matched the level of pure mean-spirited carnage and sadistic violence with obscene gore to match that we see in the bedroom scene from its immediate predecessor. For better or worse, Terrifier 3 is definitely a bridge movie. There's a lot of fun and interesting things going on throughout the picture, but it does reach its climax just as all the chess pieces have been set and things are starting to get interesting. Basically, right when you think the movie's about to take off and go totally bonkers, it ends. For as sleazy as this movie is, it is downright criminal that there is absolutely zero boobage going on in this thing. I mean, it's an unrated picture with no bazungas, tatas, or meat pillows. What in God's name is this world coming to? Go ahead and give me that rewatch. A Christmas slasher, arguably my favorite subgenre in horror, with Art the Clown, who is very much moving his way up the ranks of my list of all-time moving picture psycho killers. This movie is getting rewatched every year for the rest of my life. And if I was gonna feature this at the Jony Horror Drive-In, I would absolutely pair it with the #1 all-time so bad it's so good slasher movie ever made, the legendarily hilarious Garbage Day, aka Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2. Guys, I absolutely love the Terrifier films. They have been something that my wife and I have bonded over together throughout the years, so in that regard, they are very special to me. I personally think Terrifier 2 is one of the best slasher films ever made, and this film in particular, with its style, is so unique in how it pays homage and gives love to the Christmas horror movies that came before it. The glow of the lights, the downpour of the snow, as well as copious amounts of blood, and the texture of the film warms my heart almost as much as the thought of this film coming in at #1 at the American box office its opening weekend. 9 out of 10 for the Jony Horror score. Well, that's going to wrap up another episode of the Jony Horror Reviews. I am your host, Jony Horror, wishing all you killer clowns and demonically possessed corpses the happiest of horror days and a very, very spooky Halloween.